Welcome, weary traveler. You have stumbled across a comedy chronicled of cranial confections, a frenzied fable of bewitching fiends, and enticing expose of eccentric evils. Should you brave ahead, you will find yourself lost, afraid, and cursed with everlasting knowledge of the terrible occult. Will you survive this journey? That I cannot say. But I can say it will be the lore of horror. So I'm probably gonna cut in from the spooky intro. There's a new spooky intro. I don't know if you guys have heard it.
It was a
It's
spooky, creepy.
spooky podcast about vampires and zombies and such. But we have to talk about the Mario thing.
And Ebola.
I was and Ebola, the scariest of ghouls.
Of waterborne diseases.
I mean,
Anyway.
that is pretty fucking scary.
It's pretty fucked up.
We must speak of spooky things like Dracula, Ebola, and Shadow the Hedgehog.
I thought you were going to
thumbs.
shadow government corporations. Cabals.
Capitalism. We always talk about capitalism.
Fran, intro us now.
Oh, God. Welcome to The Lore You Know, a podcast where some friends dive into the fantastical and often convoluted lore of the media that we grew up with and love. And here to bring you the mostly correct facts about made up things this week are me, Fran.
Me, Ethan.
And I am CJ. I'm a ghoul now.
Could have been like Spook J.
Do you know? We can't say that, Fran.
No,
Do you
no.
know? Do you know? Okay, I've got a couple things.
No.
A couple pop culture things just to get out of the way. One, these monsters over at Kellogg's or whoever, you know, there's already cereal that's Halloween themed. It's Boo Berry, it's Count Chocula, it's the werewolf one that I always forget. It's all those. These fucking guys.
Fruit.
These fucking guys. These exist, right? These cereals are already real and happening. They have the fucking audacity to put Tony the Tiger and put like a Frankenstein, not even like a head on him, but he's wearing like a hat that looks like the top of Frankenstein's head. And they say, ooh, spooky Frosted Flakes. It's like, no, fuck off.
How are they spooky?
We already have, because
are they green or something?
He's Frankenstein now. They dressed up Toucan Sam like a pirate.
They added spooky marshmallows to a bunch of their things.
Hold on.
It's bullshit.
Okay,
Let
first,
cereals that only exist for Halloween exist.
CJ, Boo Berry and that shit is from General Mills, not Kellogg's.
Well, right.
So Kellogg's is going, this is a niche market that we don't have. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to add spooky marshmallows
I'm telling them
and
to
hats.
fuck off. They lost the Halloween wars. There's already established Halloween cereal. You can't retrofit fucking Captain Crunch or whatever to be zombie Crunch.
I think they did.
It's skeleton.
That
He'd be
sounds nice.
He'd be a good actually, like a skeleton Captain Crunch, like like for the Black Pearl. I would like that.
Yeah,
he's got like a really big rib cage so that his pot belly still looks right.
Yeah, and then it just is filled with crunch berries, and it's horrifying. And he just takes them out and he says, "Eat of my body."
The werewolf one is called Fruit Brute.
Fruit Brute.
Yes.
Probably FROOT because
it's FRUTE.
Oh yeah, you can't use the regular fruit when you talk about cereal because there is actually no fruit in it, and that's regulated.
But yeah, and then there's Yummy Mummy, which I didn't see this year. I think they
Yummy Mummy was
they just like
kind of
downplay the mummy.
Fruit Brute was also discontinued until like a couple years ago when they realized like
this year,
millennials
actually.
just like old things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people desire it. Also, they probably got rid of it because, as you all know, for a long time, fucking English people used to eat mummies. They would blend them up and eat them
Oh, they
because they
would.
thought it would make them live longer.
Yeah.
Because they're
That
like,
sounds
this
like a-
mummy is
That
old.
sounds like some.
That's free marketing.
And then they had
Like
to
that's
stop.
good.
They also used to grind up mummies and put them into paint. And then there was a color of paint called mummy brown, if you can believe. And they had to stop doing that because they ran out of mummies to eat and paint with.
English
Well, that's
explorers.
that's the first thing out of the way. The second thing is obviously the Mario movie trailer has dropped.
I have not
ascended-
watched it.
It has come down like a beam of glorious light from Miyamoto, and every part of the presentation was good because he was like, I've been working with my good friend Chris to make such a great movie for you guys, and we're gonna hear a little word from him right now. And it pans over to a dude named Chris who apparently runs the Illumination studio, not Chris Pratt, famous person everyone knows. And
This
he
is
was like,
real? Like, that's
he's like,
actually what
"Thank-
happened.
He's like, thank you,
That's
Miyamoto-san.
so
We are such good friends. I cannot tell you how excited we are to be working on this. A thing that has been in the works, as he said, for 7 years, which is absurd.
That is too much.
But then we
I feel
then we
a
do get to
solid
hear
5 years of that is just the two of them like drinking at a bar. They're just like, oh, and what if Mario was Chris Pratt?
You know
And
the
like,
guy from Parks and
no,
Rec? He's so funny.
no way.
No, we couldn't do it. But wait, we could do it, right?
But wait a
and
minute.
they both look at each other and go, oh.
How
And
bad
then
was the
they-
trailer?
It was
haven't
good,
watched it.
except for the parts with Chris Pratt in it.
Which is a
It
slight
was-
problem considering it's Mario.
Okay. Let me describe it quickly. Let me do a mini lore for Fran. The trailer opens, and it's a beautiful ice kingdom. And then what do we see off in the sky? A giant floating like pool of volcanoes and lavas and chains with, of course, Bowser's face as the sort of the stone Bowser face. And all of the Koopas descend onto the icy plains, and Magi Koopa is there, and she's like, Actually, I think Magic Koopa is a boy. I'm thinking of Cammy Koopa. Magic Koopa goes, behold, Jack Black! And then he comes out, and he actually sounds like Bowser. He's like,
Oh!
It's fucking
I didn't know
radical.
Jack Black
He's
was
giving
in
it
the
his
movie.
all. Yeah.
Yes, Jack Black is Bowser.
Ah,
And he does like he sounds like Bowser, but he also
Yes,
has
it's-
that Jack Black affectation.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Especially when he gets excited. It's really good. I really am excited to see Jack Black more. But then the gates of the Ice Palace open up, Fran, and what we see before us is an army of penguins. Tiny, short penguins.
are they the penguins
wielding-
from the N64 game?
They're
What, like from the
absolutely
Mario
fucking
games?
The penguins from the N64 game, Fran. And there is one in the middle of them. He wears a crown and a cloak. He's the
Oh.
king penguin.
Oh.
And he says, feel our wrath, Bowser. And then
Okay.
they start cutely throwing snowballs at him.
Okay.
And then he's like, do you yield? And Jack Black goes, what the hell? And then he breathes fire all over their castle and
Aw.
destroys the penguins.
Yeah, poor penguins.
But inside the castle, he sees a superstar, Fran,
Mhm.
and he goes, this is a pick of destiny, yeah! And then it cuts away to Mario. And this is the most important part, because this is where we're gonna have to come in when
This
this
is
movie
rough.
comes out, I think, is that he's like, who's gonna stop me? And then Chris Pratt is there, and he's like, oh, fuck, what happened? Oh, I did get isekai'd. Oh my god, what's with all these crazy mushrooms? This is crazy, dude.
Did they actually make
and
it
then-
an isekai?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
they did.
What?
And then Toad's there, and he's kind of got a Toad face. It's Michael Keenan Key, and I wish it was Captain Toad, and I hope there is Captain Toad, and it's also played by him. But
his voice too, it's like he's normal dude voice. He's not doing the Toad voice, I want to place a bet right now that at some point they're gonna have a toad come up who's like, "Oh, hello, oh, sorry, yeah."
Sorry, I had a little mushroom stuck in my throat, as you
So-
can imagine.
So their plan with this
I
movie
actually really like that now.
is to make it like you got put in the video game. You're Mario. Is that kind of what we're doing?
Did you ever watch the other Mario game, the other Mario movie,
the
like,
one from the early
live-action one?
90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It was
watched
in
that one.
1993. It was the
Yeah.
best thing to come out of
I watched that
1993.
multiple times.
Yeah, that one's also an isekai. They like go through the there's like a portal in the wall
Oh.
or whatever.
I watched it as
And
a
then
child, so I guess I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
So,
watched it
Fran-
recently as an adult, and
Fran raises a good question though. Is is it going to be that like a plumber guy
Yeah.
is isekai'd into the Mushroom Kingdom, or is it going to be that just somebody is isekai'd and becomes
Yeah,
Mario?
I think it's like
no, it's gonna be.
I'm Chris Pratt. I'm
No.
Mario. It's like
Well, it
it's
is gonna
like
be like
Bella
that,
in the Twilight series where you're supposed to be Bella,
I
and
think
pining
Mario's
for the affection
going
of
to-
Edward Cullen.
I think Mario's going to live in like a New Donk City style thing. And he's gonna just be working on some pipes, and then he's gonna like fall in, and then Charlie Day's gonna be like, "Oh my god, bro, I'm coming!" And then he's gonna come too, but they're gonna get like separated.
Charlie Day's
And
also in
then-
this.
Yeah, he's
Charlie
Luigi.
Day is
Oh my God.
Luigi.
And then Mario's gonna be like, I gotta find my bro, man. I don't know where he is. And then Toad's like, nah, I gotta help the princess. Ha! And then she's like, you gotta get Bowser, and if you get the star, you'll get the power to bring you and your brother home. And then he's gonna go to the different worlds and fucking just try and get the power.
Is
star.
there
That's
a
like
Peach?
almost
Listen, yeah.
certainly going to be the plot of the movie.
You got plenty of time. Bowser's got to get 69 more before he can even start the final level. And
Yeah,
he's a real completionist, so he's gonna go for all 119.
So-
No, actually, most of the movie is going to be Chris Pratt being like, hold on, I just gotta line up with a step, and then if I do a backward long jump into the stairs, I will have infinite negative speed, and then I can actually just clip through all the walls and get to Bowser.
There you go.
Anyway, we can't talk about Mario anymore, but I want to be on record. I know exactly the plot of the movie before it comes out, and then when I'm right, everyone has to subscribe and follow me on Twitter at SpicesWith and say what a good job I did and what a good boy I am and how proud they are of me, because my parents aren't gonna do it.
That's really great.
But I have to look at you guys, my co-hosts and dear friends. I have to apologize. I thought that I could inhabit the world of Resident Evil. And so to do that, I was myself infected with a virus, but mine just made my brain work worse and have sniffles all the time. And that did not work out. That did not work out so well. So we're going to set the record straight. We're all about being completely and totally accurate on this show. And that's a commitment I have made and will make always.
Well, mostly correct. It's fine.
That's right there. It's right there in the intro. We put that specifically in for that case.
Correct.
Are you saying like we're no longer going to cut out the sections where you just stop and hock a loogie, or?
Well, that part is
Those aren't
for the patrons.
inaccuracies. Yeah, those are just...
Oh.
That's for the patrons. But no, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because going forward, we're doing Resident Evil again, part 2. There's more story in the Resident Evil world, and it's gonna get a little weirder somehow. It's gonna get wackier, and
Fabulous.
we need to move forward confident in our existing knowledge. But in my defense, when you teach young idiot children about new topics, you don't teach them like quantum mechanics right off the bat, right? Their idiot brains can't comprehend it. First, they got to learn what a tree is, and they got to learn that stuff is made up of atoms, which is a little lie, right? We say the atoms are the smallest thing, the smallest little bits.
This
And
is
then
such a
later-
very long,
And then
drawn-out way.
later they learn that actually there's more bits to the atoms and they're shaped like this. And then later they learn
They got
actually
spin,
they
all this
don't have
nonsense.
shapes. They're like clouds of probability. So
Yeah, there's no rings
we gave
on atoms,
we
by
gave
the way,
you-
people.
We gave you guys
a cloud.
the baby's first Resident Evil to get you acclimated and get you warmed up. But
With
now
very
we're
correct
gonna
information,
teach-
I'm sure.
Now we're going to teach you the real truth. I'm back. I've recovered from the virus. I'm stronger. I'm probably a person who actually becomes immortal from the virus and not perishes to it. And now I'm ready to inform you guys, my sweet friends, but also all of the beautiful, sexy, sensual people who listen to the podcast as well.
This is like a literal 5-minute intro to say, I said that Barry died, but
listen,
I meant
I
Brad.
have to set the record straight on Barry. Barry does not perish, and I feel terrible to
Which
imply
one?
that he did.
Which one was Barry?
Barry's the one who Wesker tricked into working for him because he said he threatened his family.
Oh, but by tricked
And
you mean
then-
blackmailed.
He blackmailed.
Got
Well, it
it.
turns out, upon further research, apparently the blackmail was fake. But it's like, if it's blackmailing to kill his family, like, he could do that. So I don't know why it's fake, but it doesn't matter. Barry is alive and well,
Okay.
all through the Resident Evil series. And what happens is, during the initial outbreak, when Jill Valentine is in Raccoon City during the Raccoon City incident, it's actually brave boy Brad who meets with her to tell her that the Nemesis is after her, and he is the one who perishes.
Which one's
in-
Brad?
Immediately.
Brad is the one who, if you recall, there was another member of STARS on Alpha Team who flew the helicopter.
Yes, the
and
helicopter guy.
Mhm.
Immediately got scared and flew away.
Yeah.
But then came
Alright.
back at the end to come get them.
Yes. Okay. So he's the one.
We can't do a
I
who
just-
was that
I
on
know.
every
I
guy.
can't remember.
I just want to make sure everyone knows Barry
Mhm.
could not be killed by the virus. Only Brad could be killed by the virus.
All right.
All right.
So why don't you give us like a really quick overview last time on Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
so that we're up to date on the Resident Evil series and we remember who Brad and Barry and Jill and
I-
Rachel?
Rachel?
Rebecca.
Rebecca. All right, I will do. You know what, Ethan? That was a good tee up. I'll take that and run with it. All right. So first, before all the games, let's do a little bit of white colonialism. We've got Edward, Ashford, and Spencer. 3 wealthy dudes, scientist dudes in the early 60s who hear about a West African myth that there is a plant that makes people into super people.
Mm-hmm.
Straightforward. They go out, they do research on the plant, they eventually find over there, and it turns out the plant creates a virus that is basically a poison, but if you can survive, you become enhanced with like super strength or speed or intelligence.
This is oddly
We're all-
similar to the whole eating mummies situation.
It is exact. It's Fran is so close to that. I mean, art.
Did they make it into a cereal with berries?
Probably. They
and
probably tried
marshmallows.
to. They do this. The 3 men have a little bit of differences, but this is a part I need to get straight. When I said that they wanted to better mankind, they wanted to better mankind in a way that like a eugenicist wants to better
Oh.
mankind.
Of
They
course,
wanted-
there's
they-
eugenics.
They wanted to create a bunch of Ubermensch and create
bit
like
of
a
a
new world
Freudian
over.
slip by
Yeah,
CJ.
yeah, that was on me. Listen, the two of the men, Edward and Ashford, wanted to create like a utopia where everyone is like never sick and where they have
White
like
and blue-eyed. And
right, they have complete control of it. Spencer's the one who wanted to make like a super race of people to
Oh.
like lead the world and like be the next step in human evolution. They want to do this, but they don't have the resources to do so. They make Umbrella Corporation. That's a mega corporation that has all the resources they need in order to do research on the progenitor virus.
Mhm.
So their original idea to make a super race of people created the Wesker Project or Project W. That was their first plan, and everything else that Umbrella made it was to fund that.
Mm.
And the Wesker Project was where the Dr. Wesker would kidnap a bunch of kids and do tests on them.
Mhm.
The reason that they got kids is because they needed to, I guess, indoctrinate them with this Ubermensch ideal. Because
Oh no.
they didn't want to create a bunch of supermen that didn't share their ideals. You know, that's a dangerous slope.
Hence
So
the
they-
adopted son guy.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Albert Wesker was one of the children who
they indoctrinated into their
yeah, they indoctrinated to
eugenic
become
society.
a race of super people, and then eventually they injected him with some progenitor virus, a strain of progenitor virus, and that's what made him very cool and epic. Uh, and then when I said that Dr. Wesker and Dr. Burke were researchers together, after this point, Dr. Wesker is Albert Wesker. He grew up and became a genius doctor who then worked on all of the T virus stuff.
All right.
So the original Dr. Wesker is just whatever. He made the Wesker kids and then fucked off or died or whatever.
Then he just had a great retirement,
Yeah, I'm
surrounded by loved ones.
No, he probably got killed from an internal struggle or some shit. But Dr. Burke and Wesker are both like these indoctrinated dudes. But Burke is not a superhuman. He's just a really smart doctor who's kind of friend rivals with Wesker. All right, great. Moving forward, Wesker and Burke create the Tyrant Virus, which is a strain of the progenitor virus, or known as the T virus, and that makes people zombies. And this part I looked up, which I had to bring up because we didn't bring it up before, and is very silly and stupid. The reason that they engineered the T virus to turn people into zombies is because originally the T virus was a bioweapon, right? Like they used it to, they just wanted to like kill a bunch of people. But it was too deadly. It would kill the host immediately. So they needed to mutate it so that it would turn the host into a zombie and keep spreading, because otherwise it would just infect like a few people and they would all just die, and that would be the end of it.
It's too fast acting.
It was too good. If you've played Plague Incorporated, you know that you have to have high infection rates as well as lethality. Otherwise, if it's too lethal, you'll burn out too fast. So they made that. And then that's when everyone starts to kind of work on their own thing. Everyone wants to betray everyone and go do their own stuff. And then obviously like the mansion and the labs and Nest and all that stuff were created to further the research on this Tyrant Virus, which they were going to use to fund their research on the Wesker project so that they could make a race of super ubermensch. Great. So what do we have in the docket for the actual like viruses? What are we dealing with? Well, we've got progenitor. We said that. That's from the flowers in West Africa. And there was legends about them, and they make you superhuman if you can survive them. There's the stuff that made Albert Wesker, which is from that, but slightly different. And it's like still in progress. They're researching it. That's why they want to fund this stuff with their bioweapon technology, because they need more research to make more cool Weskers. There's the T virus, which again, it kills people outright, but it only infects 90% of people.
The T virus was the one that was fused with Ebola.
Yeah, the one that fused the one that they added some Ebola to. That's the one that made everyone into zombies.
Yeah,
because it became more infectious.
Why? Like, rabies was right there.
Yeah,
such an obvious.
But it makes you too afraid of water, I guess. I don't know. It's just weird.
You gotta put it in the water supply. How else are you gonna?
They just wanted a more infectious disease. I don't know. They were like, "What's infectious? Ebola, I guess." And then
we're really just throwing science at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Seeing what happens. Sometimes it's more art than science, you know. The T virus is kind of a catch-all for everything from here on out. But generally speaking, some people are just immune to it, which is why our main heroes never turn into zombies, even though they get bit a bunch. And there's also some strains of the virus called the Epsilon strain. We didn't really talk about that, but specifically that's what tyrants are made out of. The tyrants are just infected with T virus. But that doesn't matter as much. Then we have the Nemesis Alpha, which we talked a little bit about because that's what Nemesis is made from.
Yeah, with the eyeballs.
That's a parasite that they implant inside of a person.
Okay.
And the reason that they do that is because it lets the person they implant it into maintain human-like intelligence. Okay? So the problem with the tyrants, remember, is that they would just kill indiscriminately and they couldn't teach them to do anything. So they got around this by
making a parasite.
By making a parasite that they could use to control their tyrants, which made like the Nemesis type tyrants, which were made them smart. They could use weapons. They could take orders, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But in order to do research on this parasite, they wanted to combine the T virus with the parasite because they would make a super strong person with the T virus and they'd make them obedient and smart with the parasite. Great. Then we have the Golgotha virus or the G virus, which I mentioned came from the research they did on Lisa, the guy who made the mansion's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was
She
Yeah.
was
chained up underneath the mansion somewhere.
Right. They did a bunch of viruses, or they did a bunch of T virus experimentation on her, which mutated her.
Mhm.
And she became a crazy, like, unkillable monster. That happens. But they also tried to do research on her with the Nemesis Alpha parasite.
Mm.
And they infected her, but she was able to kill the parasite. It didn't take her over.
Oh.
So they thought that the parasite was not useful. But it turns out Lisa had mutated a new virus in her body called the Golgotha virus, which is the G virus.
Mm-hmm.
And that made her unkillable. And it also kills the parasite that connected to her. So the parasite did work, but specifically it did not work on her because she was infected with G virus.
Okay.
And then that's what Dr. Burke was able to extract and do research on to make the G virus. And the G virus is way more dangerous than the T virus because the T virus just turns you into a zombie or sometimes a tyrant if you can use the Epsilon strain. But the G virus always turns you into a big hulking monster that, kind of goes crazy.
Except for Lisa?
Except for Lisa because Lisa was kind of also a monster, but she was infected with a lot of stuff. And what she has like the original strain of the G virus, which just turned her like immortal basically. But she was a hulking monster who didn't remember who she was at all.
Okay.
How
hulking?
But yeah. She's pretty big.
Okay.
She's like a Hunchback of Notre Dame, but like a tall one. Like the proportions of a Hunchback of Notre Dame, but like tall.
Uh-huh.
The other thing about the G virus is it turns you into monsters, but the G virus can reproduce with other people. The T virus, you can infect other people and turn them into zombies, but the G virus can like implant a seed onto a host, and then the G virus will turn that person into another huge hulking monster. Which is why it's way more dangerous because instead of getting a million zombies, you get a million huge monsters that are almost impossible to kill.
Yeah, that sounds like not a good thing for the rest of us.
And if you remember from the Resident Evil stream, like while we stream Resident Evil at twitch.tv/cookingwithspices, we've been playing Resident Evil 3. You know that Nemesis like grabs people on the head and then they get like a big infection on their head. That's the
parasite.
The Nemesis parasite that's reproducing and infecting other hosts.
Got it.
And that's going to be important today, Fran. So remember about the parasites.
Okay.
We didn't talk about it much before because we're going to talk about it today.
Parasites infecting other potential nemesis. Got it.
All right. And so now we've got all that set. All the record is straight.
All the diseases.
There's only one more thing to go over because I flew over all the Arclay lab stuff.
Is that the Nest 2? Or is it just...
No, that's before all that. Remember I said that there was a secret like base where they made new executives to train to be...
in Europe or something?
Yeah, it's not in Europe.
Oh.
It's
in
like
Raccoon City?
It's like next to Raccoon City.
Because why not?
You can believe. But no, there's like a mountain facility called Arclay Labs, and that is where they did all this indoctrination stuff for the Wesker project, but it's also where they tried to like get new executives and all that stuff. But guess what?
Also believe in eugenics.
There's also a lab underneath them, and you remember that I said they did research with the T virus and with leeches?
Yeah.
That's where they did the leech research was in Arclay Lab, and that's where the first outbreak happens because
Got it.
I didn't talk about this because it kind of doesn't matter, but they accidentally created a monster called Queen Leech, which gained human sentience and wanted to make a bunch of other leech things. And so it released
As a queen does.
T-virus. Yeah, it released a T-virus strain into the labs, and then that's where the first breakouts happen. And then that's when the police department decides to send in the Bravo team to go check it out. But actually, Wesker got orders from Umbrella to send out the STARS team to see how strong these monsters are because they wanted to sell them as weapons. So
Mm.
they wanted to get combat data.
Yeah.
And then they also wanted all of the STARS members to die
Okay.
because they don't want any witnesses.
Okay.
And so that's when they sent out Bravo team,
Mhm.
who was able to escape the Arclay labs and figure out what was going on. And then Wesker sabotaged their helicopter, but they survived. So he sent in the rest of Alpha team to again go get combat data and to kill all of the STARS members so that there was no one left who knew of his evil machinations.
Okay.
And that was the mansion incident. And then another small detail, doesn't really matter. The outbreak in Raccoon City, we said, was because of the water got contaminated.
Yeah.
Poison in the water hole.
What happened is, remember, they attacked the Dr. Birkin and
Mhm.
took his G virus samples
Uh-huh.
and his T virus samples that he was working on,
Yes.
because all of the stuff happening in the background was everyone trying to get everyone else's research. Because, like I said, they're all kind of doing their own thing and they all want to do a betrayal on each other.
Yeah,
So
they
they
all
need
wanna
the
sell
other
it.
person's research. But to do so, they have to take it first. And so when Dr. Birkin injected himself with the G virus to become a G monster, that is when he, as a G monster, chased down the team that killed him, basically.
Mhm.
And he beat their shit up, and they had the G virus and the T virus. And that's when the T virus, after he was done absolutely beating this team into a pulp, got leaked into the groundwater and eventually into the main water supply. And that's why the outbreak happened, because Dr. Birkin became a big monster.
Okay.
All right, we're all caught up.
So
if you recall, at the end of the last episode, I said we have our brave survivors: Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, Leon S. Kennedy, the fucking Ripper legend Barry, and then Rebecca Chambers and Sherry, who was the little kid that
Was
they
the
saved
kid.
as well. Yep.
which one was Rebecca?
Rebecca was the only surviving member of Bravo team,
Okay.
and does not matter. So we can forget about her, and we can, for the most part, forget about Barry's. Listen, we're not going to forget about Barry. Just know that Barry's doing his own thing, and that I love.
Never forget Barry.
I love you, Barry.
Okay.
I'm in
Claire,
love with you, Barry.
Claire and Chris are siblings. Claire
Yep.
saved Sherry.
Yep. And Leon.
And
Leon also saved Sherry.
yeah. Okay. I'm
Mhm.
making a diagram for myself. Jill
Yep.
knows Barry and
Jill knows
Rebecca.
Barry. And Rebecca and Chris.
'Cause
Jill
they're
and
all
Chris
on
are
Stars.
coworkers, and now they're partners because they're teaming up to go hunt
Oh,
down.
they're partners.
The yeah, they are. You better believe.
Okay.
All right.
'Kay.
Ethan, remember at the beginning of all of this mess when I promised you we were only going to talk about the mainline series? Well,
Yeah.
Are we
well,
not?
Ethan, there's a virus called the T Veronica virus, which happens in one of the mini games, and we only need to know about it because it's the first time that it's the reason that Leon S. Kennedy, whose canonical backstory it is his first day on the job as a police officer,
Yes. In Resident
is
Evil 2.
now he's now a cool secret agent for the American government because he went on this big quest to go find the T Veronica virus, which was made by an Ashford, because Ashford, the first one who made Umbrella, had a kid, and that kid did a bunch of clone research to create Ashford grandchildren, and then those children also got infected with a virus called the T Veronica virus that made them super smart, but it also made them die. So they needed to find a cure for that. And Leon had to go out and find this cool T Veronica virus. And he does so with his cool buddy, Jack Krauser, who's an all-American super spy mega agent. They work for the Anti-Umbrella Pursuit and Investigation Team. It is a new team made by the American government to wrangle up all of this umbrella bullshit and bring it to justice. And so Jack
Thanks,
takes
America.
Leon. Yeah, Jack takes Leon under his wing, and it's 2 years, I think, after the Raccoon City incident, and now Leon is no longer a cop on his first day. I don't know if it takes 2 years to make someone into a special agent for the American government, but Leon did it. And so
It's just
Leon
an interview
is
process anyway.
Leon is a super agent. And you asked what happened to Sherry. I guess Claire went off to go find Chris because
Yeah.
she was still worried about him. But then Leon took Sherry under his wing for a while,
Oh,
and raised her as a father figure for a bit while he was training to become
man, he's a
a
busy
super
guy.
agent. Yeah,
Wow.
he's doing a
Single
lot.
dad,
Yeah,
hunting viruses.
On paper, Leon is so cool.
he's
And then you
such
look-
a dork, dude.
Right, yeah. On paper, he's awesome, but then like in the games, he's very much a dork.
He's got such Raiden energy where he's like such a
He
dweeb.
does.
He's like a fanboy of like Chris Redfield and stuff, but he just wants to be a cool guy with all the other cool guys.
So how does Leon
Oh
know
my
who
God.
Chris is then, or does that happen
Like,
later?
Well, because he
he's
knows
his-
Claire, and Claire is
Oh, Claire has
is-
talked to him about her brother.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they all talk now. All of the
Okay.
main characters are in communication.
All
with
in
each
this
other.
little mini game. They all
Yeah.
chatting. Got that group
Not,
chat.
not in
And-
this game specifically, but yeah, there are a bunch of like little side mini games with not mini game. I mean they're full games, but yeah, they kind of happen between the raccoon incident and the rest of this stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
which
so
we're not going to talk
it-
about too much because it's boring.
It's worth noting that the Resident Evil universe, you can kind of like cut it up into chunks of time.
Mhm.
So like with Resident Evil 1 through 3, we have like Umbrella Corporation is doing all of this stuff in the dark.
0 through 3,
until,
I
like,
guess.
0, you're right. Yeah, 0 through 3. Umbrella Corporation is doing all of this in the dark, and like, nobody knows until the Raccoon City outbreak.
Mhm.
Resident Evil 4 through 6, I believe, is kind of this different world now where Umbrella Corporation has been outed as doing a bunch of bad shit, and like the world is just a world of like bioweapons now because they've gotten out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they're known by like the government agencies and stuff, but it's still secret from the public. Just so we're clear, they carpet bombed Raccoon City to cover all of it up.
Did it? It sounds like it didn't
and-
work though.
Well, a city was destroyed, and they know that, but they don't know the general population doesn't know about bioweapons now.
Did it
But the American-
actually contain the T virus though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
that
that
works.
was effective in that regard. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then if you recall, the other big players are Albert Wesker, who was blown up in the mansion incident.
Yep.
And Ada Wong, who was killed in a kerfuffle with Dr. Burke.
Mhm.
The lady Dr. Burke.
Doctress Burke.
And then that brings us through the Raccoon City incident. Like Ethan said, there's now a task force to wrangle up all of these umbrella stuff. The anti-umbrella
The outfit?
pursuit and investigation team, the outfit.
Oh, say there's no
Rolls off the
fun
tongue.
stars type thing. Fine.
No,
What in the world is Chris doing? Because Claire went to go
Yeah,
find
what?
him, right? But like
Yeah.
obviously Chris can't do stuff for stars. So
yeah,
what
what is he
what's
doing?
that
Well,
boy
one-
up to?
One of the in-between games is that Claire and Chris reunite, and because he was doing research in Europe, because the Spencer family comes from Europe.
So he's a
and so
researcher
they-
now?
He's an investigator.
Okay.
He's trying to figure out.
He has
how
no
deep
authority
this-
though.
Yeah, he's a rogue.
He was just a cop for Raccoon City.
Yeah.
And
Hell
now
yeah,
he's
he's
off
a-
in Europe doing
he's a
investigation.
ro-
Who
he's a
gives him
rogue-
the authority?
He's a rogue agent looking
What-
for clues.
His rugged handsomeness gives him authority.
Hell yeah, it gives him authority over me. We'll come back to the Redfields, don't you worry, friend. But
Okay.
but know that he's doing
Stuff.
investigations. He's out there. He's got his nose to the ground looking
Okay.
for clues. But let's begin at 1 Resident Evil 4. We are given our premise pretty much right off the bat. Leon S. Kennedy is the only one epic enough to save the president's daughter, who is kidnapped and brought to Spain.
Is this like the My Date with the President's Daughter movie?
It's very similar to that, except the I guess the reason they send Leon is because this seems like it was an inside job and they don't know who they can trust. But because Leon's only been there for like a year,
They're like, it's
they know
definitely
it's-
not you.
They know it's not him. So that's why they send only Leon
Wait,
to
wait,
find
wait,
the
wait, wait.
president's daughter.
I did not know that it had nothing to do with the fact that this is a very zombie related mission and he
No.
has zombie experience.
No, literally nothing to do with that.
Well,
They
did they
don't
know it
even
was
it's
zombie
a-
related already?
No, they don't know it's a zombie thing right now. They're just like,
Oh
get
my
the
God.
president's daughter back.
That's so unfortunate for Leon. He's just like, oh, I'm so happy to have put all of that behind me. I just get to be a good secret. Oh,
Yeah.
these are zombies, aren't they?
Well, he joined Oppet, so he knew that.
Yeah, so he's like against the umbrella. He did
Yeah.
so
All right,
in
that's fair.
his mission with Krauser, in the previous like in between game, he was literally like, I just can't get away from the raccoon city. It's everywhere. The zombies are in the trees. But
I mean,
they actually
there
did
were
send-
plant zombies, so that's a fair concern.
Yeah. They didn't send Krauser though. Krauser, I guess, died in a different mission in between the
Oh.
games as well.
Aw,
So
beans.
that's also
So
why
Leon's his
is-
successor.
Leon's just kind of next in line. Yep.
All right.
So Leon gets to Spain, and he's in a small village, but something is strange. The villagers are all acting very weird. He says that he's looking for this girl, and he's asking around, and he's being very cold-shouldered. But it turns out that this village is controlled by another ancient Spanish myth this time that believes that there is a creature that can control the population. And indeed, this creature is several parasites called Los Plagas.
Okay.
Ah!
And Los Plagas has created a cult around itself called Los Illuminados, which is controlled by a guy named Sadler, who is using these parasites to infect people and control their mind. Where have we heard something like that before?
How old is this myth of the thing that controls?
Ancient myth of
Okay.
Spanish lore, I'm sure everyone from Spain can validate that they believe in Los Plagas. But they love the worm here, and it turns out that Leon going through the village, all these villagers are infected, and when they decide to attack him, they all get at him at once.
Oh, that's scary.
And yeah, no, they all turn at you at one time, and then they're like, okay, so Ashley's been captured by a Spanish cult that has parasites in them. Very cool, very great. How could things get any worse? Well, Ada's here. What? She's alive. I thought
But she
died.
died 2
She
games
died.
ago.
No, she did not die. She faked her death and was
She
able
faked
to
her
escape.
falling down a giant chasm. Isn't that what happened?
She did do that part, but she survived. And
How? I don't.
she was able to escape Nest before it was.
She rolled when she
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So-
Yeah.
She was
Negates
able to
damage.
escape Nest before it exploded,
That's good.
and was able to get to the G virus sample. You remember the one that was also thought to be lost
With Ada, yes.
with Ada. No, she had it.
Oh.
And then this part doesn't matter, but I think it's funny. That virus sample was destroyed. But then Dr. Burke, who we thought was dead, the monster one,
Yeah.
he was alive too. And so Ada killed him and then just took another sample from him, which was good enough.
Why?
So I don't know. I don't know why. Because there was a story telling about why Ada was alive, and then they had to have a boss for her to fight, and then they had to get the
It's
G
like
virus.
actual TV filler episodes.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
I'd rather a
But-
beach episode, but you know, that's me.
And just so
Ooh.
just so you guys know that what I have to like fucking deal with and why stuff is complicated a lot of the times. Ada works for a shadow organization which
Oh.
has no name and is just called a shadow organization through all the games. It never once does this particular, it's just a rival company to Umbrella who is never named or referenced, and when Umbrella goes under, they don't apparently exist anymore. So I don't know. She just works for shadow people, whatever.
But hey, she's here in Spain too. What are the odds?
Weird. At the same
And
village?
I
What?
know, with the one with all the parasites in it. Isn't that fucking
Wild.
crazy?
Ah.
It's a small world, am I right, Leon?
Okay. Anyway, he's like, Ada, I love you so much. I thought you were dead. And then she's like, oh, Leon, I can get you to do I can have you simp for me any day. And
Is that actual? Okay, is there actual romantic subplot or is it just implied?
she does the thing where it's like, oh, Leon, looks like you're in a bit of trouble. I need to get out of here with this virus sample, but I got you a little present. And then she gives him like a rocket launcher and she's like, don't die, otherwise you're not gonna taste this ass.
Okay,
And
so
then
she's
he's
the
like, well,
flirtatious one.
gotta.
And he
I mean,
doesn't-
Leon's just an idiot. He isn't. He's a fucking
Yeah,
dork. He
I
doesn't
mean-
do anything.
It's absolutely one of those game storytelling things, right? Where he doesn't directly say, "Oh, I'll just simp for you," but he does just like unquestioningly do whatever the beautiful lady says is
Okay.
a good idea.
Exactly. So now they get separated.
Again.
Ada's motives, like always, are still a little unknown. But while they get separated, Leon gets a little friend put inside of him. That's right. He's infected with one of the parasites,
Ugh.
one of Las Plagas.
Ew.
And so he kind of has to deal with that. Because as you remember, once the parasite matures, it will render him unable to resist mind control from the cult leader Sadler.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still looking for the president's daughter at this point, in case you forgot. But now he has a parasite in him, so he's also racing against the clock to try and find a way to cure himself. We have one other major player, a very sensual, sexy major player who we haven't.
That's the shop salesman guy.
No, although he says,
What are you buying? He says as he opens his cloak.
Yeah, he does say that.
What?
There's a shopkeeper everyone likes in this game, including me. But no, there is a very sexy one, Dr. Luis. And he is he's a person who, lives in the area and
Mhm.
keeps meeting up with Leon and Ada. And
But isn't mind
he-
controlled as far
Nope.
as we can tell. Okay.
No, he is not. And he is trying to help them out. And he kind of points Leon into the direction of the big castle that is
Whoa. Wild.
that is in Spain. I mean, yeah, Spain has castles. And he says the cult is based out of this castle, and if you want to get the president's daughter, you got to get in there and get out. Leon is able to eventually find the president's daughter, Ashley. Leon, help me. I'm being shot at. So that's what she sounds like the whole game. The rest of the game is an escort mission. You escort the
Oh,
president's daughter
dear.
out of the zombies.
That sounds awful.
Very good. You can tell her to hide in like a trash can though, so it's kind of funny. You'd be like,
Get
"Stay,
in there.
follow,
Mhm.
stay, follow." And while Leon is dealing with Ashley, the president's daughter, Ada is meeting up with Luis, and they seem to have a little bit of a business because Ada wants Luis to give her a sample of the plagas. But Luis doesn't have one,
Hmm.
which is not what Ada wanted. But what we learn from this interaction is that Luis was actually an inside informant in one of the labs that was doing research here on Las Plagas. And he wanted to get the fuck out because it was starting to get real weird. They were
Yeah.
doing cult stuff and mind controlling people. So he contacted a shadow organization,
Different one?
a little competitor to Umbrella Corporation, and said, "Hey, listen, I need to get out of here. I will give you a sample of the Las Plagas parasite
Oh.
if you come and get me the fuck out of here."
Okay.
And
so
they-
Ada
and they
is the
said-
shadow organization.
Yeah, so Ada has come to collect both Luis and the Plaga sample, but Luis
Mm.
doesn't have the Plaga sample right now. So Ada and Luis are still going through the castle, and now Leon and Ashley are going through the castle. Leon and Ashley are both infected with Las Plagas and needs to find a way to cure themselves. Otherwise, it's no point if they escape. They're gonna have a bad parasite in them.
Mhm. It's and I believe that's the plot, right? That's the reason why they kidnap the president's daughter. They're gonna mind control, parasite her, and then send her back.
And use her as an informant. That's exactly correct, Ethan, which is a very strange plan.
That's a very convoluted one. Couldn't they have
Well,
just brought the parasite to her in the States? Or like was she like
believe-
vacationing in Spain or something?
I believe the plan was to infect her and mind control her, and then she was going to infect the president of the United States with a parasite
Right.
as well. And then they would have control over the United States government,
Okay.
the most
And-
powerful entity in the world, except Umbrella Corporation and its subsidies.
All right, and I might be wrong here, but I sort of feel in my heart that if those villagers had just let Leon go through and save the president
just
or
leave.
save the president's daughter
Yeah.
and just leave, like it would have worked
They went to
perfectly.
fucking know the difference. Yeah, no, it was a miscalculation. But as we will see, Sadler is not the best at this.
He's not a great cult leader, it sounds like.
Well, yeah. So Sadler is the cult leader, but first and foremost, he is a researcher who has been doing research on the Plagas, and he knows about the ancient tales about the Plagas being like a mind control thing. But through his research, he is able to make what is known as the dominant Plagas. And a person infected with the dominant Plagas will be able to exert their mind control over the people who have the regular Plagas.
So does he have dominant Plagas then?
He indeed infects himself with dominant Plagas to become the cult leader for this group. And this is the part that doesn't make any fucking sense. Because he made a dominant Plagas to put into the president, which by the game's own logic would say that the president would maintain all of his personality and then would just get control over the other Plagas instead of them getting control over him. But they don't explain why that's not the case. And also, it's definitely the dominant Plagas that they want to put into the president.
Okay. It's not
Well,
a situation where
he's-
Sadler has like the dominant Plagas and then they give the
You're
president
right,
the
he's got
sub-dominant Plagas.
Alpha dominant
I
Plagas, and
guess
he wants to.
It's a whole hierarchy.
He wants to give the president beta cuck dominant
he
Plagas.
wants to give him Scrimblow Plagas. Yeah, it's a whole weird thing. But very specifically, they were going to give the president dominant Plagas. Well, why does that matter? The Plagas sample that Luis was supposed to give to Ada was the very Plagas sample that they were going to use to infect the president. But he lost it.
Just lost it.
Oh, jeez.
He did not just
jeez.
lose it, but he did not just lose that, but we'll come back to that. Because
Did he infect himself with it? Ho ho ho.
Oh no, that's not
Oh, okay.
true. No, Luis does not have the Plagas at all.
Okay. Did they accidentally infect Leon with it?
Because
that'd be funny.
No, Leon has beta cuck Plagas.
Okay.
But there's a guy named Salazar.
Right.
Who's weird. He's the one who owns the castle, but he got culted, so
He turns
turns into
into
a
a
big monster.
gigantic. Yeah.
I only bring him up because he's a little man who has the stature of a 10-year-old boy, but the face of a 60-year-old man.
Ugh.
And also, he's canonically 20 years old. So
And
do
owns
with
the castle.
that what you will. And he owns the castle. He's like a Spanish baron.
Okay.
So whatever. He's one of the mini bosses that you have to go through
Okay.
to make your way through the story. He's not really a big deal, and he does end up dying. It's fine. But what we learn while Leon is dealing with Salazar in his castle is that Jack Krauser, an agent for the American government, did not perish in a random mission between video games.
No.
In fact, he turned and became a secret. He was like, fuck this. I'm going to just be a plant for a shadowy organization that has no name. And I am going to use my closeness with the president to kidnap the president's daughter and bring her to Spain to infect her with the Plagas virus. And then he brings her to Saddler and is like, wait a second, you have a dominant Plagas virus that Luis is supposed to give to a shadowy organization? I work for that shadowy organization, so I'm supposed to get that. But I would
What
much
a
rather
coincidence!
I would much rather put that parasite inside of me.
Ah.
So I'm going to do that. So Luis's original parasite was not lost. It was taken by Krauser,
Okay.
who put it inside of him so that he could get immense strength. And
So he
He
does
also-
work for the same shadowy organization as Ada.
Well,
That's
he's
right.
just double-crossed the shadowy organization
a
also.
little bit. He did also do that and is kind of teaming up with Saddler, who's like, I don't want the shadow organization to come take my stuff. So, because Luis was the one working with the shadowy organization, not Saddler. So Luis is trying to turn on Saddler and give them the parasite. But then the shadowy organization has to send in Ada Wong to go kill Jack Krauser for being a traitor and also to get a sample of the Plagas virus. And that is why our characters are where they are now. And also, this is
Oh,
a big
boy.
reveal moment because Leon trusted Krauser and he thought he was dead, but he's not. He's a monster now. He's very strong. And he
Mhm.
says, don't you see? It's working for the government's lame. It's all about power and being strong and having a parasite in you. And Leon goes, I have a little parasite in me. He goes, ha ha ha, you are a little fool, Leon.
You could have had a big daddy
You could have.
parasite like me.
You just had to kidnap the president's daughter, Leon.
I'm still lost. Okay, so the
How could you
shadowy-
possibly be lost, friend? What is not clear?
So the shadow organization wanted
Which has no name,
Krauser
right?
to
Yeah.
get the sample of the virus
Yeah.
or something.
The
Okay.
parasite. Yeah.
But he ended up kidnapping the president's daughter to do it? Question mark? Or was he already
were-
double crossing the double
they-
crossing at that point
they-
and working for the cult leader?
Yeah, so that's the weird part because kidnapping the president's daughter was also part of the shadowy organization's plan
Why?
because they wanted to blackmail the president.
Okay. So the shadow organization wanted to blackmail the US president or hold her for ransom or
Yeah.
some shit.
They wanted so
reasons.
Saddler was the only one who could use the Las Plagas to do mind control, but the shadowy organization also wanted to do his plan, but just,
Right, that's
But
why
they
they
wanted
the
to be in
dominant
charge of it.
Plagas.
Okay.
exactly.
So the shadowy organization and the cult had the same objective.
Here's the thing,
You-
Fran. Who could be epic enough to run such a shadow organization so that they could do all of these complicated machinations behind the scene, pulling the strings? Who
I feel
does
like-
Ada Wong work for, Fran?
I assume someone who has an affinity for police stations that have lots of statues that open up with medallions and levers and
Fran,
things.
I have to come clean. And to Ethan, I guess, too, but mostly Fran. I apologize. I said the in-between games didn't matter, and I lied to you, and I knew that I was lying to you.
I'll never forget
Because there's a game called Resident Evil Code: Veronica,
Well,
in which
Isn't that one you referenced already with the T. Veronica virus?
the T Veronica is a part of that game, but
Okay.
is not the same game that Leon did his epic adventure with Jack
Oh.
Krauser. That's
Okay.
a different game.
Okay.
In fact, in Code Veronica, we follow one Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, who
Mhm.
are globetrotting across Europe to try and find information about Umbrella Corporation.
Okay.
And they're able to follow a series of clues that shows them where Spencer could be hiding and that, in fact, Albert Wesker lives.
Oh.
Indeed.
the big reveal. Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Albert Wesker's alive and he's looking for Spencer because he's got questions about his upbringing because he didn't know that he was an experiment, I guess. Which,
Mm.
who cares?
Classic
Whatever.
identity crisis.
But he
I-
thinks that Spencer's a tool and wants to go kill him.
I thought that I was just indoctrinated into a eugenics-loving Aryan race corporation.
Yep.
I've actually also been experimented on.
Yeah, this is bullshit, dude. Fuck you. Uh,
I was down with the first half of that. That was great.
well, here's the thing. So obviously, the game Code Veronica happened, in which Chris and Jill are able to find out what happened with Wesker, and that he is still alive, and that he is looking for Spencer. And also, of course, this game is connected to the other Resident Evil mainline games via the Dark Side Chronicles, of course, the rail shooter that connects the stories between Resident Evil 2 and 3 and Code Veronica.
What?
And in that rail shooter, I guess, we get this story that Albert Wesker is alive and is running the shadow organization that Ada Wong works for
That
Okay.
has no name.
Hold on.
to try
Alright.
and steal research to make bioweapons to create a new world order.
So, pause. All right. So, Wesker, in theory, died in Resident Evil 0?
No, he
Or
in
1.
theory died in
No.
Resident Evil 1. Yeah,
1.
Resident Evil
Okay.
1 in the
So,
mansion.
in the mansion, his mansion, that he has an affinity for fun doors and stuff. Okay.
Yes.
He supposedly dies. And then a few days later, he has established a shadowy organization because he sends Ada Wong to go retrieve things from the lab. Or d-
He
Fran,
probably had that a while ago.
Okay, so he's had a shadowy
Fran,
organization for a
Fran.
while.
Fran, you foolish girl, thinking that this all wasn't part of Albert Wesker's machinations from the very beginning. You see, Albert Wesker wanted to turn traitor on Umbrella, as we already know.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted to bring Umbrella's research to the shadowy organization so that he can get in good with them.
Oh, he's not in charge of the shadowy organization.
Not in Resident Evil 1.
Or
Not-
2.
But
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
he releases the tyrant in the mansion that eventually kills him, as I'm sure you recall. But he knew that the tyrant would attack him first because he was one of the researchers who created the tyrant and knew that the tyrant would despise him and
Mm.
make it look as though he had died, thus making it easier for him to leave the Umbrella Corporation and bring the
Okay.
research over to the Shadow Organization. And unbeknownst to, I guess, most everybody who thought that he was dead, he was given a special version of the progenitor virus, a in-progress version that turned him into a superhuman with the ability to, quote, heal wounds faster, which is why he didn't die from getting stabbed through the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very important and comes up every time I look up what happened to Wesker after the Resident Evil 1 game. Made him very fast. It is important to know that he can run very fast.
Okay.
Which is why he was able to escape the mansion before it exploded.
Okay.
I can confirm Albert Wesker is very fast. We've talked before about how these games have you do like tank controls, like very slowly try to aim your gun kind of thing, right? Every time you fight Albert Wesker, you're playing like a PlayStation 1 game and slowly moving, and he moves like he's in the fucking Matrix. Like you shoot and he's just suddenly 5 feet to the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is very silly. And
So Wesker
good.
wanted to leave Umbrella because he wants his money he wants to make money because capitalism.
and he also wants to get higher up in this new Shadow organization.
and join
which
the
he
Shadow
does.
He
organization.
also wants to start a new world
And
order.
Resident Evil
Because
1,
he wants
because
he
eugenics.
wants to start a new world order. Yes.
Because eugenics.
Because
right.
he was indoctrinated on the principles of eugenics for the upbringing for the Project Wesker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And then he was able to bring some of the research with him to the Shadow organization, but they didn't have the T virus.
They did
And
have, they did
so-
have the T virus.
Then why did they no? Which one was Ada trying to get then?
The
The
G,
The
G
G
virus.
virus.
He didn't have the G virus because it was Lisa.
Specifically, well, Lisa was the originator of the
Yeah.
G virus, but it was Dr. Burke who was working in Nest who had all of the G virus research.
Okay.
Which
but Wesker didn't have
Albert
access to
Wesker-
that.
But he knew where it was because Albert Wesker and Dr. Burke were, as you recall, both co-workers
Yeah.
and work friends and also competitors. Wesker was trying to get Burke to leave the Umbrella Corporation, but Burke wanted to stay at first because he got to work in the nest and do all the research he could possibly want. But then he did also want to leave Umbrella eventually, but Wesker already knew that Burke had the G-Virus research, which is why he informed the Shadow Organization to send Ada Wong to go get the G-Virus during the outbreak.
Got it. Okay.
And that's how the Shadow Organization knew of the G-Virus at all.
And then because Ada Wong successfully got the G-Virus, they're like, well, Wesker, you do have good
Wesker,
information.
you've done well. You should be higher up in our Shadow Organization.
Yes.
And while Leon is becoming an epic cool guy, you will now run all of our clandestine missions to get more bioweapons.
If you get promoted one more time, we'll tell you what the Shadow Organization's name is. It's pretty good.
It's pretty creative. And so it turns out Ada was working on orders of Wesker this whole time.
Not the whole time.
Well, at least
Just
for
this
now.
time.
During the whole time in Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
And
Resident Evil 2 is just the Shadow Organization's orders based on intel from Wesker.
Yes.
Okay.
And Wesker wants that parasite. In fact, I can also now reveal to you that this parasite was indeed the first in the same way that the progenitor virus was the original T virus. This parasite is the original Nemesis Alpha parasite, which turns people into nemesis.
So it's implied that they did a white people colonialism on multiple places, not just
this was
the flower.
Spain. That's where white people are from. But yeah, they also went to this place to do
And
research
Spain.
on.
Okay, so they have gotten the parasite with the Umbrella Corporation before, and they did research on it. So then the question is, why didn't Wesker have that research then? If he's all, I got the research from Umbrella.
It's Sadler is doing all of this like refinement research to create the dominant Plaga.
So Sadler's also Umbrella?
It literally says that Sadler has a, quote, mysterious past. So they don't know how he got the research to do Las Plagas stuff, but he did.
Okay. What about Luis?
And took over with his cult. Luis was just a researcher who worked for him.
Okay.
But he was a plant for the Shadow Organization.
Okay.
Well, the project was led by Dr. Luis.
Okay. So Luis wasn't originally a plant. He eventually was like, fuck this shit, and was like, help me.
Yeah, right? he didn't like the whole cult stuff that Sadler was doing.
Okay.
So but he's basically the one who helped create the dominant Plagas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Wesker wants the dominant Plagas. That's a new thing that they don't have yet, and that's why he's doing all of this stuff.
Wouldn't he also want the normal Plagas too, if that's the whole point, is that you have dominance over the standard inflected Plagas?
Well, we got that stuff all over the place.
They already have the Nemesis Alpha parasite. So
that's right, because Umbrella already took it. Got it. Okay, so they have that.
They don't really need that as much. The dominant Plagas is the most important thing for Wesker right now.
Okay.
And Wesker really just kind of picks and chooses what he thinks is important and what he doesn't. So all has been revealed, basically. And I
imagine if this was someone's first Resident Evil game, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on?
You don't know what the fuck is going on. Even if you know what's going on, you don't really know.
This was my first Resident Evil game.
And
did you
know what was going on?
I mean, so they do a pretty good job. It's one of those games, right, where the primary plot with Sadler and Spain is at the forefront.
Right.
And they do like the reveals of like Albert Wesker, and you're like, well, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Yep. But like the main story does push you forward that I was very invested.
Okay.
Well, our heroes eventually get all the information they need. Sadler is becoming a bigger and bigger Plagas monster.
Mm-hmm.
Luis ends up tragically dying,
Oh.
trying to get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, before he dies, he left behind information on how to cure the Plagas, which is why
Ah.
he doesn't have the Plagas, because he was able to research a cure.
Makes sense.
And Leon and Ashley are able to use this information to cure their own Plagas.
Mm-hmm.
And they wish to escape. Ada also gets her sample of the dominant Plagas and also wants to escape. She's able to do so, and Leon's like, "Will you take us with you?" And she's like, "No, but I'll leave you a little jet ski behind so you can do a little escape sequence." And he's like, "Okay, thanks, Ada."
What a kind secret shadow organization agent.
So Ada is able to get out with the Plagas sample, and Leon and Ashley are also able to escape, cured of the Plagas, and with intel that helps them cure Plagas in the future, which Leon gives to his anti-Umbrella organization, which they use to protect people from more Plagas in the future. And Sadler is defeated as he turns into a giant monster
Mm-hmm.
and is obviously blown up by many big explosives, just like all big zombies. And that is the end. Leon returns the president's daughter, who gives him a nice, sloppy kiss and then
Oh.
a hand job.
Oh.
And it's pretty cool because she is a little cutie.
It's very weird. She's your classic like Japanese game female protagonist where she's like, I'm whatever age is legal, barely legal where this game has come out.
Yeah. And then
And
she's like,
there's-
"Don't look at my skirt, you perv, but do, I guess."
Yeah, no, they absolutely throw a bunch of spots because it's like a follow protect quest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they do many a time where you have to go down the ladder first, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm going down the ladder now." And if you look up, like,
You see
it,
panties.
someone had to program so that when you look up, you see her panties, and then she says, "Oh, pervert."
They
tee."
just programmed.
Oh dear.
if-
When did
if
this game
see
come out?
panties. I don't know. The golden age of video games. Who knows?
So question about the
Uh,
Spanish village. So they
Mhm.
blew up the boy, the main boy, the dominant boy. What about all the people who were infected by this parasite? Are they just
I would
still
say
there, or
almost
did they pull a Raccoon
all of
City
them
where
were
they
killed
just?
by Leon.
Okay.
So,
All
no,
right.
I believe the epilogue to the story is that village never actually gets better and always just has the Plagas in it.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
The research continues that Umbrella was doing in the form of the new Shadow organization, and that Wesker lives and Ada lives, and there's a new generation of bioweapons being made. Let's go back to Christopher, who, as we all know from the Lost in Nightmares Resident Evil 5 DLC, is hunting with Jill to find Spencer and Wesker. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. They work for a new organization called the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, or the BSAA, which is an important organization going forward, and is the main organization that Chris is associated with from now on. They are able to find Wesker and Spencer, but Wesker kills Spencer because he is like, "You are not the next generation of cool guys. I am. And you are not worthy to be the Ubermensch." And Spencer, who, like I said, is trying to find a cure for dying of old age and is unable to do so, and is eventually put down by Wesker. And so Wesker is like, "Oh, Chris, you big hunk of man, you get over here. I'm going to do the biggest murder on you right now. I just killed my kind of fake business daddy, and I am rock hard." And Jill goes, "No, Chris, I will save you because I love you." And she grabs Wesker, and the two of them tumble off of a cliff,
Oh,
killing both of them.
no.
So Jill and Wesker are dead now.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Wesker's
the
dead.
end of
Wesker
true
can. Oh
love.
my god.
Wesker's dead for real now.
No,
He dies.
he is not.
He dies between video games again, Fran.
We know that he's not though, because we literally have established that he has the super eugenic formula inside
Fran,
of him.
just don't
that makes him
don't let
superior.
the fact
he
that
can
they
run
never
so
found their
fast. He can
don't
run
let the fact
so
that they
fast.
never found the bodies convince you that he's still alive. They didn't find the bodies because they got eaten by fish or something. Wesker's dead. Jill is dead.
I can maybe believe
Chris,
Jill, but
Chris is sad now, but he needs a new partner. So in comes Sheva.
Sheva?
They are working. They're all working for the BSAA.
Okay.
Sheva is a local to West Africa, and Chris is on a mission to West Africa to investigate some very concerning reports that there's some sort of parasite that infects the host and turns them into mind-controlled zombies. Some sort of Plagas, perhaps.
Okay.
And indeed, there is a man named Ricardo Irving who is doing Plagas research, some rogue Plagas research, and is able to make a new strain of Plagas called Plagas version 2.
Okay.
And this new Plagas can turn its host even more strong. It has a few differences from the other Plagas, though. Remember, the other Plagas you have to inject into a person, and then it has to come to maturity in order to take the mind control effects.
Yeah,
It was like,
it's like
that
a slow
didn't work
go.
out. Yeah, that didn't work out very well because that Leon guy never got mind controlled.
Mm.
So he invents a new type of Plagas that you can implant in a further stage of its life, and it will basically immediately take over its host and turn
makes
them
them
into
stronger.
Plagas monster, and it makes them stronger.
Okay.
There's a downside, though,
Mhm.
in that you become like a deformed monster. There's no like human left in you, as opposed to like the other Plagas, which would like hide inside of you basically until it.
But the
sense danger.
Nemesis version like covered you also.
We're in a very different universe right now, Fran. CJ just took us into Resident Evil 5, and
This is
up
not a
until
horror
now,
game anymore.
yeah, up until now in the series, we've been playing horror games. This is a very weird action game where they like completely got rid of their horror origins except for a few jump scares.
Oh, so now it's just
Like,
shooty shoots time?
Now, yeah.
This is entirely body horror shooty shoots action boy game.
Okay.
But also, it's 2 players. So one of you gets to play as Chris, and one of you gets to play as Sheva, and you get to shout at each other, and you can go, Chris, Sheva, Chris, Sheva, Chris, Sheva.
Is it a split screen?
Yep.
Fun.
I know things have been a little complicated in the last game, Fran, so I want you to know, as Ethan pointed out, this game's a little bit different, and they really pared down the story. So it's a lot straighter of an arrow that we're gonna take for this one.
I don't believe you, but okay, go ahead.
No, that one's actually true. Let's get through some Resident Evil 5. So Chris is investigating this Irving guy who made the new Plagas. They fight a bunch of Plagas monsters that are all new next generation Plagas. And while he does so, Chris finds evidence that Jill might still be alive. He finds a picture of her doing a bad thing, and and instead of focusing on the bad thing part, he's like, Jill, she's alive somewhere.
What bad thing would she be doing? Loitering?
Like corporate espionage, like what Wesker does. And so he is now determined to find Jill, even though their orders from the BSAA are to stand down for now. And Sheva, who wants to be a loyal partner, comes along with him, as now instead of a race to find the Plagas guy, they are also trying to find Jill. And as they are trying to find Jill, they discover that there is a third type of Plagas, Fran, an even more advanced type that makes you that makes you even more powerful.
Does it make you really
Uh,
fast?
It makes you a lot of cool stuff.
Okay.
But there's a big downside to this one.
Uh-oh.
It only works on men, adult
Oh.
men. Women and children are immune to Plagas type 3,
Okay.
which, okay. So I don't know, they were
Bit
really,
discriminatory.
yeah, I guess. The only reason that
I-
this
I
matters is
mean-
you fight a bunch of tribe of dudes who are trying to kill you while you're researching.
Yeah, I mean it's straight up because in this game we've gone again into the action mode. So we don't just shoot these zombies, we beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want to have you
Beat
like
the shit
curb
out of
stomping
children?
ladies in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, children and ladies.
Yep. So you don't. And that's because this virus
So you
doesn't work
don't.
on them. But now, as they're investigating this Type 3 Plagas, they discover a new player that's actually been here the whole time.
Of
Fran.
course.
It's
course.
none other than Tricell. What do
Okay.
you know about the Umbrella Corporation? Well, obviously,
It's
when
an
the Umbrella
umbrella.
Corporation was in its heyday, it was part of an international federation of pharmaceutical companies,
Of course.
obviously, because they all had a vested interest in making pharmaceuticals and make
To
$1
help the
million,
world.
beaucoup dinero, all that good stuff. Well, Umbrella Corporation was not very forthwith with its bioweapon research and ended up using a bunch of these other corporations as resources to do bioterrorism research. And then when the raccoon incident came to light, the other organizations in the Federation were not happy because it made all of them look bad. Enter Tricell, which has 3 different parts to its organization.
No.
It's a shipping company, a natural resources company, so it gets oil out of the ground. So far, we're doing pretty good. And what's the third best corporation to have? That's right, a
Pharmaceutical.
pharmaceutical company
Yeah.
that was part of the same global federation as Umbrella was. Umbrella used Tricell to help further its research on the T-virus, unbeknownst somehow to Tricell.
Okay.
And this is the best part about all of it, because once Umbrella was ousted, the rest of the corporations in the Federation wanted to distance themselves. But unfortunately, no one trusted them anymore, and so they took huge financial losses. And so to make up for their huge financial losses, they decided the best thing to do was to continue bioterrorism research so that they could sell it for buco dinero, while at the same time pretending like they were fighting bioterrorism so that they could increase their reputation with the public.
Yes. Obviously.
So,
It worked so well for Umbrella.
also, Tricell was formed by a guy named Thomas Travis in a long time ago, who eventually, down his lineage, gave rise to Henry Travis, who was an explorer and one of those like 1800s style English explorers who went around.
Bully!
Yeah. He traveled around through West Africa and discovered a cool flower there that the locals said gave you superpowers and wrote all about it in a book. And that book was found by one young Spencer, who used it as inspiration to travel to West Africa to get the flower to create the progenitor virus.
So it's all Tricell's fault.
The Tricell was there every step of the way, Fran.
Of course. Of course they were.
Obviously.
Of course.
Also, Tricell is currently run by a super hottie girl.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
This hottie is named Excella. And
Is it because she excels in all regards, or?
I guess so. It's pretty straightforward, but Excella is in charge of Tricell, and she wants to do a bunch of bioweapon research. So, while Chris and Sheva discover all of this, they find also the original location of the Stairway to the Sun, the flower that created the progenitor virus.
Oh.
It all came from here, Fran.
Oh.
And what do they also find with this flower? Why, it's Wesker and Jill.
Oh.
What?
I know,
No.
right? Why would Jill...
CJ, you said that Wesker was
I
dead.
did. I also said Jill was dead, but they're both here, Ethan, somehow.
What?
Also, Jill's working for Wesker now, or was it like they both happened to be there at the same time, pointing fingers at each other?
Wesker says jump and Jill says nothing. She just does it.
Mm.
And upon further inspection, Chris notices a huge device sticking out of Jill's chest.
So this is like a Scott Pilgrim situation.
Indeed. The device is
Yeah.
the device is none other than what is known as a P30, a device which injects the user with progenitor virus, like a specific type of progenitor virus that gives them mind control and superpowers, but it only lasts a very short time until it's metabolized by the body. So it needs to be constantly pumped into Jill via this device on her chest. Otherwise, she'll just kind of come to and stop being a superhuman.
So it's like a nicotine patch.
It's exactly
It's like a nicotine patch that's most effective if you put it right in the cleavage.
Okay.
It's hot. So
So weird.
Wesker was using this progenitor virus to control Jill.
Okay.
But Chris and Sheva figure that out, and they're able to rip the P30 out of Jill's chest, and Jill eventually comes around.
It's one of the greatest boss fights in all of video gamedom, right? Because as CJ said before, this is a cooperative game.
Mm-hmm.
You are trying to rip this thing off of Jill. She's got super strength, but she is still your friend, so you can't just like shoot her to death, right? So it is like a timed button sequence battle where one of you playing as Sheva has to hold Jill down while the other one playing as Chris has to get his hands all over her chest and like on 5 different occasions just like feel her up / gently pull on this thing until you're able to pull it off.
That is a very strange game
hot
mechanic.
Yeah, that's great.
Like I said, we're in a different kind of game now. We're not playing horror games anymore.
We certainly are. So, Tricell is in charge of all of this Plagas stuff, and Chris has now freed Jill from her mind control, and she is alive and well again and back on the side of good. So, the only thing left to do is chase down Wesker and put him down once and for all. Now, Ethan mentioned Excella, who is in charge of the Tricell Corporation. Well, why is she helping Wesker? She just digs him. She is all about that Wesker dick.
She's so hot for him, and she's just like,
she will do
I hear
anything. Use me. Use my corporation for your evil gains, you big man.
Tricell isn't the Shadow Organization?
Nope.
No?
That's just a regular company.
Okay.
You thought you could figure out what the Shadow Organization was called, Fran? You absolute fool.
That's very silly, Fran. But yeah, no, Tricell is just your average company run by a smoking hottie who wants to join the eugenics world of Albert Wesker as his main squeeze.
Yeah. And specifically, Excella just worked for Tricell, and Wesker encouraged her to basically take control of the company. And then help him with research. Because Tricell originally was trying to not get into that world because they were trying to separate themselves from Umbrella, but once she took over,
she's
that's
like, nah.
when they decided, because Wesker
committed
wanted her
bioterrorism.
to do that. Exactly.
Yeah. And when we talked in our first episode about how very gay this series is,
So gay,
this
dude.
is like a prime example where they make this intentionally just like super hottie as one of the main villains who is just like falling over herself to get in Albert Wesker's pants. And he just the
only
whole
cares
time he's
about
like,
Chris.
Chris,
I lured you here, Chris.
Excella, out of the way, I'm dealing with
trying
Chris
to look
now.
at Chris.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and they made Albert Wesker sound more evil, so he does talk like that, where he's like, Chris, everything has been because of my machinations, Chris.
Oh.
Wesker, you monster, Wesker. I can't stop chasing you.
Yeah, talk to me dirty like that, Krias.
Oh my.
All right. So Excella eventually turns into a big Plagas monster,
Oh.
and
That's not good for her.
no, well,
She has a
Yeah,
company to run.
Wesker betrayed her.
yeah, Wesker just bailed on her. She's like, "Fuck that. I don't care about you," and she goes crazy, turns into a giant Plagas monster, and is defeated.
Okay.
But before she does so, it is revealed that one of the things that Tricell was working on was a sort of antidote. As it happens, Wesker's virus, his mutated progenitor virus that turns him into a superhuman, is unstable.
Oh.
He's unable to live if he does not get a basically an antidote that keeps his virus in check from mutating too far. And
Mm.
Wait.
And s-
Wait, what?
yeah. So he needs.
Wait,
so
wait,
he needs-
no. We can't just accept this. You said just like an hour ago that he had no idea that he was infected.
No,
for
he
like
didn't know when he was a kid that he was infected with the progenitor virus. But then when he did the mansion incident, he specifically injected himself with a new version of the progenitor virus to turn him into a superhuman.
Okay, so he was infected with a virus that did nothing until later he did a better
It
one?
made him super smart. Remember? It
I
made him a
see,
doctor
okay.
and able to do all this T virus research. And it
All
was
right,
this that was the same virus that usually kills you, but Wesker was able to survive it
And got super smart because of it.
and got super smart because of it, and like kind of better at stuff generally.
And then he injected
I'm just
himself with one that made
imagining
him the
A
best
superhuman.
human.
Fast.
Exactly.
I'm just imagining this super smart boy in his teens where they're just like, and remember, Albert, you need to take your Flintstones vitamin gummies.
Yeah, that's
He's like,
exactly what it was. And then that's why he was mad at Spencer. That's why he wanted to kill Spencer, because Spencer was like, Wesker, I made you. You aren't anything. You exist because of me. Like, this is my new world order. And then Wesker got really angry at that. He's
God.
like, no, you're too
Sounds
weak.
like my dad.
Yeah. It's like, you're too weak to take the new world order. I will take it for myself, papa. And then he kills him.
And then he realizes that his virus is mutating too much. and
Yes,
he's like,
his
oh,
virus
shit.
that gives him super strength mutates too much. So he enlists the help of Excella from Tricell to make an antidote to keep it in check so that he still gets to be a superhuman, but doesn't go full monster.
Okay.
And Excella reveals kind of unwittingly that this is a thing, but that also if you use the antidote in surplus, it becomes a poison to Wesker.
Oh.
And will sap him of his powers and kill him.
Okay. That makes kind of sense. If you use too much of it, it'll just negate it.
Right. Well, dosage is important in all
Yeah.
medications, Fran.
Yeah.
So they now have a lethal dosage of this antidote for Wesker, and they want to get him. They're going to kill him. Chris is after Wesker now.
Mhm.
But what is Wesker's plan? Well, like I said, Wesker wants to start a new
Eugenics.
world. Right.
Yeah.
He wants a new world order. He wants to infect everyone in the world with a strain of the progenitor virus, a similar strain to what was injected into him.
Okay.
And that will kill most everybody.
Yeah.
But the people it doesn't kill will be enhanced and will
Is he
be
trying to infect
the
them?
next step in human evolution.
Is he trying to infect them with the smart virus, the one that makes you smarter, or the one that makes you super soldier?
It's a new one. So remember the original one that they gave to Wesker was only a prototype virus that they were still doing as part of Project W.
Yeah, that's why it's super smart.
They've continued to do more research to make this virus even better.
Mhm.
And that is known as the Ouroboros virus. So he is trying to infect everyone with the Ouroboros virus in order to kill most everybody, but those who remain will be super intelligent, super strong, and the next level of humanity, the next step of evolution.
So is that what he infected himself with during Resident Evil 1?
Yeah, it's that kind of stuff. Again, these are all like in progress viruses because they needed to do all of this research with Umbrella and then with Tricell to even make the Ouroboros.
Okay. All right.
Mhm. It's worth mentioning also that when he's talking about this to Chris, he does strongly suggest like, well, this will only leave the strongest alive. So of course, Chris, you'll be here
You'll
with
be here,
me.
you beautiful man. So
Yeah.
we come to the final set piece of the whole game. They do a fight in a helicopter. They try to inject Wesker with this antidote. And they are eventually able to do so in the same way Ethan said before, where you have to like do a duo cutscene where you're both like smashing a button to rip the thing out of Jill's chest. Now
Yes.
one of you is holding Wesker back while the other one's trying to inject him with a hypodermic needle.
In a volcano.
Well, it's first.
Why is there a volcano? What?
Well, you're in a helicopter and you're
Okay.
flying over a volcano.
In
then
West
you inject-
Africa.
Yep, and then you inject and then,
Yep.
and then you inject Wesker with the antidote, and then the antidote, and then you kick him out of the helicopter, and you go, "Ha, we have thrown an antidoted Wesker into a volcano. He is dead for real now." And then he morphs into a giant super monster who is like a Mr. X times 100. He's not that big, but he's so powerful. And he comes out of the volcano, and Chris and Sheva are like, "You have got to be fucking shitting me right now."
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So the two of them look at each other and they go, "Yeah, we're gonna go do a volcano fight." So they jump into the volcano, and the two of you have to fight Super Wesker. And a boulder almost runs Chris over, and you have to smash a button to punch it out of your way because Chris is just so epic at this point. And Sheva is just shooting Wesker with 1,000,000 bullets this whole time. And finally, after all of this is done, you put Wesker down, and his body, the entirety of his form, falls into an active volcano, and he dissolves. And he is finally killed for real this time.
Are you sure?
And Wesker is no more.
Are you sure?
Wesker, he fell into a volcano.
That means
Fran.
nothing apparently in this game. So
Well,
I don't.
And we used a rocket launcher.
And they used a rocket launcher to
That-
make
well,
the
that
volcano
obviously means nothing.
explode on top of him. So this is the most definitive death we can give to Wesker, I think. This one takes the cake.
I feel like they still might bring him back, but that's fine.
And then Sheva and Jill fly off into the helicopter, and Chris goes, "I wonder if it's even worth fighting for anymore." And then he looks at Sheva and Jill and he goes, "Yeah, I guess that's pretty cool." And then he has a three-way, and it's awesome.
No, and then he's like, "Get out of here, ladies. I gotta go find myself a new hot man."
All right. Fran, I hope you enjoyed the time we had in linear storytelling for a
It
little
wasn't
bit.
that linear, but okay.
Comparatively, Fran, you are going to eat those fucking words. I cannot believe you said that. You set yourself up so hard for that. Oh my God. All right. We are at the magnum opus of Resident Evil. Resident
Oh my
Evil
God.
6.
Is it another shooty shoot one?
Oh, Fran, it's all sorts of things. It's everything.
All right.
Everything a video
All right,
game could be.
I want to give you a preview, Fran, before CJ gets us into the story, because I am one of the few and proud who have played Resident Evil 6 for 10 whole minutes. And
More than most.
so it's another co-op game. Our friend Jacob and I got it. I want to say like 6 months after it came out, it was on sale for $5.
Oh, wow.
And so we said, fuck it, and just grabbed them. You start the game and you get the regular like zombie attacks, right? We go around, they just do jump scares that automatically bite into you.
Oh.
But they decided to take the action sequences of Resident 5 up a notch. And so they have a specific button set for doing a like Matrix jump backwards, but still holding the gun forward, shooting at the zombies.
Oh.
And then when you land on the ground, if you keep holding that button, you'll stay laying down and can still shoot at them, right? Which,
What?
okay, that makes sense. Like,
No?
what if you haven't taken the zombie out yet? You need to stay laying down, right, Fran? Yeah, that makes sense. But then somebody decided if you want to continue holding that button down, you can slowly butt scoot while laying down on the ground,
What?
firing at the zombies.
I'm more sold on this video game than I have ever been.
We
Oh my God.
butt scooted.
Scoot around.
We butt scooted through the level for an additional 5 minutes before we just could not stop laughing and had to stop.
All right. So, Fran,
Uh-huh.
you remember how I said that Resident Evil is a series where it doesn't make a lot of sense for some of the characters to be there, but they have to be because people want those characters to be there?
I vaguely remember you saying that at some point.
That was in the last episode.
Yeah. A while ago.
We're gonna
It's
Let's-
also just context.
let's
Yeah.
get into it. We are now in the distant future of the mid 2010s.
Oh.
It happens the same. It's the same year that the game came out. Is the setting
Oh, okay.
like the
Okay.
real year that the game came out?
Oh.
But we're in the alternate reality where like Raccoon City happened. So it's alternate history. This is not great, but there's a food shortage in Eastern Europe because of all the wars that are happening there. So that's fun. They, I guess, called that shot. But it happens in a fake country though. This one's called Zidonia. Which could be a real country. I don't know, but probably not. But there are shortages there, and people are dying from malnutrition. But fortunately, there's a new miracle cure drug
Oh
that
dear.
has all the nutrients that you need. You just inject it into you, and you are in tip-top fighting shape.
Great. Even the children,
Well-
I'm sure.
Well, all at once, everyone who is using the infections does turn into a bunch of zombies.
What?
That
Who would have known?
is unfortunate. But specifically, we are following a young man named Jake. He is Jake Muller. He's a fighter in these wars, a mercenary specifically for hire. And he is in this area when everyone starts to turn into zombies. But he, another user of the nutritional supplement, does not turn into a zombie. He is unaffected. So there's something different about Jake. Well, Jake
Does he
is
have the super smart gene?
Fran, we'll get to where we're going, and you will not guess it, so it's fine. Now, Jake is contacted by an agent from the National Security Association in America whose name is Sherry. That's right, the young girl who survived the Raccoon City incident with Leon Kennedy as her pop-pop.
Ah,
All those years ago, grew up and became a member of the NSA and is now a fully grown agent and is in the situation where she needs to go investigate this outbreak, which has been dubbed the C virus.
Ooh.
While she is there, teaming up with Jake, a Nemesis type monster starts to pursue Jake. So there's a new Nemesis, and yeah, he's just following Jake and Sherry around and trying to kill Jake. Who else do we have as players in the wings of this amazing narrative? Well, it's none other than Christopher Redfield himself. He is also in this story, as you might imagine. Once word gets out about the C virus, he decides that he needs to go investigate more about it. And he finds one Ada Wong who has been imprisoned and is actually could potentially be a useful source of information.
But Chris doesn't know who Ada Wong is, right? Because Leon is the one that's been
so wrong. Fran.
hanging out
Chris
with her.
Obviously knows who Ada Wong is. I mean, he's got to talk to Leon, right?
Yeah,
And be
but like
Yeah,
he
Leon
hasn't
told him,
like
"Gee."
interacted with her before. Leon's the
I
one who's
guess
interacted.
not.
Yeah, no, but he's like, oh, you're that smoking hottie Leon was talking about.
All right, Fran, I need you to take your critical thinking helmet off for a second because
It's impossible.
We're going to get into it. Okay.
I'm trying to write as
Firstly-
fast as I can.
Firstly, there's a new organization. That's right. They're called Neo Umbrella, and they invented the C virus to infect everybody.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
We're all on
Is-
board with that?
Yep.
We're cool with that?
No.
What?
No.
What, Ethan? What?
I just need to know, is Neo Umbrella, are they an underground thing, or did they kind of get like the rubber stamp
No,
from
they
the
are not a new
FDA?
pharmaceutical company. They are a terrorist group.
Oh, okay. Bioterrorist group.
Neo Umbrella is here, and they have captured Ada Wong
Uh-huh.
and are keeping her imprisoned, who knows something about the C virus.
Mhm.
And so Chris Redfield goes to figure out what's going on. He gets there to release Ada Wong. And it turns out Ada was not a prisoner. She was actually a plant and was there to trick Chris Redfield and his team to come there so that she could infect all of them with C virus.
Okay.
also
is it, so
important
there's more
to
than just
note-
Chris that's there? Then?
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
Well, he has his whole team. As you recall, he's still a member of the BSAA.
The
So
BSAA.
he is there with his team, and he gets a new partner named, I think it's Pierce. And because, as Ethan mentioned, this is a co-op game, and so everyone has a partner. But
Mhm.
usually the partners only have one named person that you recognize and then one new
Random
person that
person.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
So Chris has a new partner.
What will happen to them?
Yeah. So Chris has a new partner who's part of the BSAA, and the rest of his team is infected with C virus, but the two of them are able to escape. And so
Mhm.
now Chris is very angry at Ada because she killed his team and is working for Neo Umbrella. And he is so angry that he gets PTSD amnesia. And so he doesn't remember anything.
Well, okay.
Okay?
Sure.
We're following along?
Okay.
Have you ever had like a bad day and you forgot like your keys at home? You forgot if you closed the fridge or not. Imagine if you had a really bad day.
Okay. So we're cool. We're cool with that, all right? Now, remember in Resident Evil 2 when Sherry got accidentally infected with the G virus and they
Yeah.
had to synthesize the vaccine that came
Yes.
out of the sample from her necklace?
Yep.
When she got the G virus and then was later cured,
Mm-hmm.
it imbued her with supernatural abilities that allows her to heal incredibly fast like Wolverine. And so
But-
Sherry
Of course.
and so Sherry's a super person now.
Now or forever she was, and she just now realized it.
And she knew it before. We as
Okay.
the audience didn't know it, but now we do. So
Okay.
she's a super person.
Okay, because she was infected and they antidoted
And they
it.
cured her, but the G virus imbued her with great
Okay.
strength. The residual.
Okay,
guess.
strength and healing or just healing?
Mostly just healing. She's not like super strong, but
Okay.
she's very turgid.
Sure. I haven't seen her in a few games. Oh, sure, why not? She's been busy.
Jake
Yeah, there we go.
is also very strong and can heal himself fast.
Oh,
Why can he do this?
because he was
well, that is
infected with the
because-
C virus, right?
Oh, Fran, you foolish girl. It's because Jake is Wesker's illegitimate child. And so using Wesker's mutated DNA, he is able to resist not only the C virus, but is able to heal himself at a rapid rate and also be a super person. And so Sherry needs
Okay.
Jake's blood because Jake has inside of him the super progenitor virus that is apparently the counter to the C virus because the C virus is unable to infect him because he's Albert Wesker's illegitimate son.
Okay, so Sherry needs Jake's blood to counteract
Mhm.
the C virus.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. And they figure this
It's-
out how? Like, how did he figure out that he was Wesker's illegitimate child?
Fran, I'm not going to play this game. I'm just going to tell you what happens in it, okay? I don't know how they figured that out. I don't know if he just knew that. All we know is that he has Wesker juice inside of him, and they need that Wesker juice to create a cure for the C virus,
I wonder
which
if
was
his mom was
created by
Excella.
Neo Umbrella. No, she exploded.
Before that.
Guys, I'm bored of these people. Where's Leon? Well, here he is. Leon is still working for the United States government as an agent, and he is tasked with a partner because they all have partners now. And he's tasked with
We'll call him Jim.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, her name is Helena. She works for the Secret Service. Leon is working with her now. I'm not going to refer to any of the partners from now on. Know that they're
Ignore
there, but from now on, I'm just talking about Leon and Chris and those ones. All right? Great.
Yep.
The president of the United States in this day and age is going to finally go public with the information about bioweapons and tell everybody that bioweapons exist, tell everyone the real story about what happened at Raccoon City, and just dish everything. And he's going to totally come clean. He's going to do this at a college during a speech. And before he can do so, ruh-roh, he becomes a zombie, gets infected with the C virus.
Oh.
And so
In
Helena
America?
is like, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you're following. Very good, Fran.
Okay.
All right. Now Helena is like, well, my boss is dead, but I need you to follow me, Leon, and help me with some shit.
Okay.
While they're going through this college, it's just Raccoon City all over again. Leon is having like flashbacks. He's like, oh my God, this keeps happening to me.
Okay. I thought we were still in Eastern Europe and Leon and Helena were like there. I didn't realize that
we're in a college campus in
Scene change.
The United States.
Got it.
Yeah, this is a globe-trotting adventure, Fran. What are these crazy characters up to all over here?
All right. Excellent.
The C virus is spreading everywhere. Helena actually just wanted to use Leon to help find her sister, but her sister's already infected with C virus, and so she's gone. While this is happening, Fran, guess who shows up in Leon's life once more? That's right, Ada Wong is here.
In America?
In America.
Wow.
And
she travels fast.
And she's like, Leon, I need your help. There's some poser out there pretending to be me and doing a bunch of stuff, and I don't like that. Will you help me? Because I am very sexy and will flirt with you the whole time. And Leon goes, oh, Ada, I'd do whatever you want me to do, you little minx. And so Leon and Ada and Helena, who's Leon's partner, are all teamed up.
Jim is there.
And they're gonna go to China, which is where they've tracked this C virus information to. So they're off to China.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, it's great for this, Fran. This game was is prophetic. All right. Now, the leader of the National Security Agency. He is a guy named Simmons, right?
Who happens to be Wesker's other illegitimate son?
Nope, he's just an evil dude.
Okay.
But he does happen to be a part of a shadow organization, not the one that Wesker was in charge of.
Different shadow organization.
This one is called The Family and has been running the main aspects of governance from the shadows in the background this whole time.
Okay.
They've had their paws in everything. And this guy named Simmons is in charge of the family. But he has also worked his way into the American government as leader for the national security.
As shadow organizations do.
Indeed. Simmons is taunting Leon, I guess. He just tells him, hey, you know how the president's dead and he died from a zombie? I framed you, and now everyone thinks that you're the one who killed the president, Leon. So get fucked, dude. And that's also why Leon wants to help Ada, I guess, is because everyone thinks he's killed the president. But, Ethan, do you remember the person who helped you in Resident Evil 4, who was your main point of contact with the American government?
The shopkeeper?
No, Ethan, it was Hannigan.
Your favorite.
Throughout all of Resident Evil 4, there's like a dispatcher known as Hannigan who's guiding you through the game and is also a girl kind of vaguely flirts with you over the radio. And she's been helping you this whole time. Well, Hannigan is still in contact with Leon, and she helps Leon fake his own death because everyone thinks he assassinated the president. And Hannigan is his inside into faking his own death so he can go figure out what's happening with the C virus and go off
Okay.
to China. So everyone thinks Leon's dead, and Hannigan is covering up for him in the government.
Did Jim also have to fake his own
Yeah,
death?
I don't know, Ethan. I don't care. So Hannigan, that's how Leon knows to go to China, because Hannigan's like, all right, you're covered for, but you have to get to China because there's some stuff going down and you need to stop it, Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And so Leon's on his way. Let's jump back to Chris. So this is a
Mhm.
game that happens from like 4 different perspectives, which is why it's so confusing. But every time I'm switching perspective is when you in the game switch perspective to a new character and have to play through the story from that perspective. So
Okay.
whatever. Leon and Ada are off to China.
Yep.
Chris, as you recall, he can't recall. He's got PTSD amnesia,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't matter because he works through it and he remembers that he hates Ada Wong because he killed his team and he needs to figure out what's going on with the C virus. What jogs his memory is he's attacked by zombies and he's like, "Wait, I'm against zombies. I must go figure out what happened." And I know that the C virus has something to do with China. So he goes to China to go deal with the C virus.
Okay.
We also have Sherry and Jake
Mm-hmm.
who are going to China because Sherry needs Jake's blood to cure the C virus.
And they have to do it in China.
Wait.
Well,
Wait.
I don't know, man. They're going to China.
Everyone's going to China.
Everyone's going to China.
All right,
Okay?
yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
going to China. Great. Everyone's
Everyone
conversing.
to China.
Everyone is coalescing to China. Awesome.
Okay.
By the way, the university city that Leon was at, they carpet bombed it like Raccoon
Oh.
City. They did the exact same thing.
Oh.
Yay.
He literally is like, "It's happening again," and then they blow it. They blow up the city again. It's
They're a
so
bit more prompt with
Oh
it
my
this time,
God.
it sounds like.
Yeah, they really were. Well, I wonder why that is, Fran.
Because the head of the NSA
NSA,
orchestrated it.
The person who wanted to get rid of Raccoon City by using carpet bombs the first time was also the person who used carpet bombs at the city this time. All of the Raccoon City stuff, the cleanup from the American government was by him. Part of the family. Shadow governance in the background.
Cool.
Oh my god. This is so good.
All right.
Okay.
The shadow organization, but not the other one from before that still has no name. This one, the family.
Everyone to China.
Everyone's in China. Well, what happens when everyone is going to be in the same country? Huge country, I guess. Well, they're going to run into each other, obviously.
It's a small world.
Leon and other
Helena.
runs into Sherry and Jake.
Oh.
And Sherry still sees Leon as a father figure because he basically helped raise her after the Raccoon
'Cause he
City
is,
incident.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sherry tells him, "Oh, I'm working for a guy named Simmons who's in charge of the national security advisor."
Oh, shit.
And Leon goes, "Sherry, Simmons is the guy who's behind all of this." And Sherry just believes him because she's like his daughter.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh man, they've been playing me for a fool. They want me to get Jake because they don't want there to be a vaccine. They want to, they
Mhm.
want to kill him. That must be who's behind the Nemesis guy who's trying to kill Jake." And so they get together, they get on the same page, and and then Ada shows up.
Take your time,
And
take
then
your time.
Ada shows up again.
Which
She's
Ada?
also mad, the real Ada.
Okay.
And we figure out why, because she's also mad at Simmons. Why is Ada mad at Simmons? Because Simmons created an Ada clone to do his bidding for her. Let's rewind back to when Chris was trying to release Ada from prison.
Oh my god.
There was a lady who worked for the National Security Advisory,
Mm-hmm.
whose name was Carla. And
Okay.
she has a big thing for Simmons. She wants that Simmons dick more than anything, and she would do anything to be with Simmons. But Simmons, who works for the family, a shadow
Mhm.
organization, also works with Ada Wong. He uses her as a contractor to do all this corporate espionage shit.
Okay.
And while he does that, he gets a big thing for Ada Wong, which I totally get. And he wants to put his PP in Ada, and Ada is not as receptive.
So
She's
he
like,
made a
I
clone
have a
of her?
boy. I have a boy toy. So Simmons used his research with bioweapon technology to turn Carla, who would do anything for him,
Oh,
into
God. No.
into a biomass heap. And then once she emerged from this cocoon, she had the exact appearance of Ada Wong, which he was really into.
Oh, God.
So he uses this Ada clone as bait to trick Chris Redfield into coming to figure out what's going on by talking to Ada, while also making it seem like Ada has betrayed Chris Redfield.
Oh, my God.
And so
Oh, God.
Ada figures out this is what Simmons did, and she's pissed. So she's here to kill Simmons and to fuck up the clone of herself because she doesn't want Carla running around doing things as Ada Wong.
Mm-hmm.
While all this is happening, we get the best scene in the game, which is the only scene I've seen played out, which is Chris Redfield, who sees Ada Wong, who is actually Carla, a clone, and is chasing after her through the city. And then Leon, who sees Ada Wong, who's actually Carla, going to defend her. And Chris is like, Leon? As he's pointing a gun at him. And Leon's like, Chris? And the two of them are epically pointing a gun at each other. He's
Oh,
like,
my
get
God.
out of the way, Leon. Ada killed my team. And then Leon is like, no, you don't understand. The real Ada Wong told me that there's a clone Ada Wong running around that we need to deal with. And while they're fucking around with all of this, the clone Ada Wong escapes. Okay? And she keeps eventually she'll morph into a big fucking monster, obviously, because
Obviously.
she's a bioweapon. But I mean, Chris and Leon just talk through their emotions, and they they eventually figure out everything that's going on and
That's-
corroborate stories and stuff like that. But
That's
not before
so
they could get
good
away.
and healthy.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of those games where you have to have like a big bro versus bro scene because they just can't talk to each other.
No, once the fake Ada tricks them and pieces out, then Chris does listen to what Leon has to say, and they all get on the same page, and they know that Simmons is the big bad guy now. So Chris is now like, they all know that Simmons is a very bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously Simmons has injected himself with some sort of weapon technology.
Mm-hmm.
He turns into a
they don't even bother
Yeah.
specifying.
who cares? He turns into a giant dinosaur monster.
A dinosaur? Like what
Yeah,
kind
he
of
turned-
dinosaur?
Like a T-Rex type monster,
Oh,
but like
God.
a Resident Evil one.
Okay.
And
All
and they have to kill him. So they do that. Do they actually kill him though? No, they don't. Obviously, he
Yeah,
is a
obviously.
bioweapon, and
He's
so
a dinosaur.
yeah, he's a dinosaur, but not. It's a fake out. He's still alive. But Carla is also out doing things as Ada Wong. She gets mad she's finally angry at Simmons. She's like, he made me do all this shit, and he doesn't even care about me. He only cares about Ada Wong, which should have been super obvious because he literally made her transform into her.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to get revenge on Simmons. And she knows that he is in charge of the family, the secret organization that controls the entire world from the shadows. And so she decides that the best way to get back at him is to destroy everything he cares about.
Oh.
But what he cares about is being in charge of the family and being
Ada
able
Wong.
to control the entire world and Ada Wong. So she decides that the best way to get back at him and take everything that he likes is to infect the entire world with the C virus, because then everyone will become zombies and the family control will mean nothing anymore and he will basically lose power, if only because Armageddon has happened and everyone is zombies now.
I feel like
Shit,
there's other avenues that she could have explored before everybody gets a C virus, but
No. I mean, that's the ultimate cure-all. If you're looking to get back at your ex, like, ending the world works every
No
time.
matter
mean,
what they're
there's-
into is always the correct answer.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So, she makes a big missile that contains the C virus and is going to chuck it at what is basically Hong Kong, which is going to infect everyone in Hong Kong like immediately. And then the
Okay.
virus is going to spread out because it's like a hub place, and it will spread to the entire world. And she fucking does it. She infects everyone in the city with the C virus. And her plan,
Oh, no.
her plan is going just swimmingly. While this is all unfolding, Leon told Sherry and Jake that they need to find an underwater facility that contains a laboratory that will allow them to take Jake's blood and use it with the C virus samples to create an antidote for the C virus. So they have to get him. I guess this facility is underwater because they needed a new set piece. So
'Cause
the
why
two
not?
of them,
Yeah.
the two of them are now in BioShock and are doing underwater facility stuff while the rest of this above ground shit is happening.
Uh-huh.
Simmons is still alive. He's mutated from a dinosaur. Now he's a big sea monster.
I feel like that gave him less of an advantage.
And
It's
they
just
have to
water-based
kill him.
now.
And they have to kill him for real this time, which they do. Great.
Uh-huh.
Chris goes to the facility to go help because Leon's like, Sherry needs help to deal with all of this stuff.
A lot.
And
deal
now
with, yeah.
Chris sees Jake, and he somehow figures out that Jake is Wesker's son and goes, wait a second, Wesker, I hate that guy. So now Chris is pointing a gun at Jake, who's pointing a gun at him, and is like, your dad did so many bad things to me. And Jake's like, I know, but I have the key to I have his blood, which is the key to saving everyone. And Chris goes, fine.
I'm
Okay.
really disappointed in Chris's character development because he's just trying to solve everything by pointing guns at people and having conversations.
But he
with them.
does come around. Every
but,
time he
like,
does come around.
That shouldn't be your first instinct. Maybe it's because of his cop training, but like you don't just like pull a gun and try to negotiate or talk about your feelings.
This facility underwater contains a creature called House, which was designed by
doctor?
No, it's a big goo monster,
Oh.
which was designed by Carla to be the end all. It is a C virus monster that still is like a monster, but it has the ability to spread unfiltered C virus and infect everyone around them.
Wait, so this is like Plan B besides the whole Hong Kong
exactly, Ethan.
Carla is thorough.
This is her
My
ace
God.
in the hole on top of everything else.
Thorough.
So they're gonna die to House, Chris and Jake, because I mean Chris is gonna get infected and Jake is just gonna die to this monster that just is a monster. Now remember, Chris has a partner this whole time whose name is Pierce and has been there the whole time since the rest of his team was wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce says, I'm gonna do something now. So he injects himself with a mutated C virus that gives him super strength, enough that he can epically defeat the house monster while he tells Chris to get Jake out of here. He's the only chance for humanity. I will fight off the creature while you escape.
It's very noble.
A superpowered Pierce is able to kill House as the whole facility underwater is destroyed because Pierce needs to kill himself too because he will become a C virus monster if he's allowed to live. So the The facility sinks into the water as it explodes, and Chris is able to take Jake with the C virus sample that they need to make the
Antidote.
vaccine, and
Yeah.
they're able to escape back to the surface. And finally, they're able to make the vaccine. But wait, Ethan, you forgot about Ustanak. You know, the giant Mr. X Nemesis monster that's been chasing Jake the whole time, trying
From
to kill
Eastern
him.
Europe?
He
Everyone always forgets about
he
Ustanak.
found his way here, and he's there to
Wow.
kill Jake. But it's okay because Jake and Chris they have set aside their differences with Wesker, and they're able to destroy the Ustanak and bring all the samples to Sherry, who's able to take all of the samples together and make a vaccine for the C virus, which is able to be distributed throughout all of the cities to stymie the spread of C virus and save the world.
Mm-hmm.
Good
But
job, Sherry.
unfortunately, half of the people say, well, I should have the right to not take this vaccine if I do not wish
It
to.
is one of the vaccines that, like all Resident Evil vaccines, you can use on an infected person, and it makes them not infected anymore.
Oh.
So
My freedom, no.
But that is how our story concludes. Jake is able to use his father Wesker's blood and give it to Sherry, the child from the Raccoon City incident that was saved by Leon, who all work for the government, that was actually being puppeted by a leader of the shadow organization called the Family, so that he could control the entire world. But his scorned lover, who turned herself into a clone of a different scorned lover, decided to infect the entire world with it and they all turned into monsters and were killed by Chris, who was also there, who's doing anti-umbrella stuff. And the story has a happy ever after.
Good.
So
That is the story of Resident Evil. Canonically,
Okay.
the greatest story ever told.
So we've covered a few games this time. I want to say Resident Evil 4 was for a long time considered to be like the height of the series, right? Like one of the best games in the series.
Really?
It had like the better controls.
okay.
It was like a scary game. It had like fun and such. Resident Evil 5 was one that people kind of liked. It was definitely a departure from the series, but it had like cooperative play and it was kind of just like goofy fun. Resident Evil 6 basically sunk the series for like
For a long time.
8
They
years.
had
Yeah.
to do a hard reboot with Resident Evil 7. And we're going to talk about that hard reboot and follow our new main character, Ethan. What?
Ethan?
Are you
What?
in a video game, Ethan? We are going to conclude our series on the main Resident Evil timeline games. But for now, we close the book on our mighty heroes, Leon and Sherry and Jake and Chris and the other
And Jim.
ones. And Ada was there. And it looks like Wesker's still dead, so that's cool
For now.
for now. But we want to thank these mighty heroes for keeping us safe from this horrible virus that came from China that we're not going to associate with any real things that have ever happened.
Okay.
And we're also going to thank you guys for listening, our beloved audience. We appreciate it every time you stop by for a little bit more lore dump from your favorite nerdy lore masters. That is going to wrap it up for today. Guys, you have any lingering open questions that you want to contemplate while we wait patiently for the next spooky lore you horror to conclude the Resident Evil series?
I mean, I feel like that was a pretty definitive, solid ending to Resident Evil 6. Happy ending.
Yeah,
Jerry's
well told.
securing the world.
Uses classic storytelling
I'm
techniques.
sure Jake being a Wesker just isn't going to be an issue later. Sure, it's going to be fine.
Well, good news, Fran. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, Resident Evil 6 was the issue, and they just
And
kind of were
they
done
said,
with that.
We're done with this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some series where when we finish it, I do have specific lingering questions, but when you finish with RE6, it's just the
Just
question
it is.
what?
Just it is at this
What?
point.
I also want to thank Gail Kitsune for all of the artwork for this project. The Lore You Know branding is all thanks to her. And thank you, Apajo, for the absolutely amazing intro and outro music to our series. We shall conclude the series next time, guys, for some more month of spooky horror. Make sure to check out @SpicesWith on Twitter for all of the updates. Make sure to check out twitch.tv/cookingwithspices. We're playing Resident Evil. We're playing other spooky games. We're doing all sorts of fun stuff over there. Check out the YouTube Cooking with Spices. We play video games and do podcasts. We do it all, but for now, I have been CJ.
I've been Ethan.
And I've been Fran.
And make sure to get vaccinated, but only after you're infected with the thing that the vaccination works against.